As the Craven ships limped away from human space, Fekros approached his commander with a final report. The humans had left something in their computer systems. Not a virus or tracking program, but a complete database of human history. Wars. Yes, but also art, music, literature, and philosophy. The story of a species that had learned to temper strength with wisdom. The journey back to Craven space took 3 weeks. During that time, Vexler studied the human database obsessively. He learned about their wars, from primitive conflicts with sticks and stones to nuclear exchanges that had nearly ended their civilization. But more importantly, he learned about what came after, how they had pulled back from the brink, united as a species, and reached for the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers. When the battered fleet finally reached Craven space, they were met by the entire Imperial Navy, ready to launch a retaliatory strike against the humans. Vexler stood before the War Council and delivered his report. He told them about the human weapons, their tactics, their overwhelming technological superiority. But he also told them about their mercy. The council was divided. Some wanted immediate revenge for this humiliation. Others, the wiser ones, understood the message the humans had sent. The debate raged for days before the Emperor himself intervened. The decree was simple. Human space was forbidden. No Craven vessel would cross their borders without explicit invitation. Trade would be permitted at designated neutral zones, but any act of aggression against humanity would be considered treason against the Empire. Word spread quickly through the galactic community. The mysterious humans, who had seemed so weak and vulnerable, had defeated a Craven invasion fleet without losing a single ship or life. More incredibly, they had allowed their enemies to leave with a warning instead of destruction. Some species saw this as weakness, but they were quickly corrected by those who understood military strategy. The humans had revealed only a fraction of their capabilities, just enough to make their point. The true extent of their power remained a mystery, and that uncertainty was more effective than any display of force. In the following years, human space became known throughout the galaxy as the Silent Sector. Ships that entered with peaceful intentions were welcomed, traded with, and sent on their way with gifts and knowledge. But the few who entered with hostile intent were never heard from again, not because they were destroyed, but because the survivors were too terrified to speak of what they had witnessed. Admiral Chun retired shortly after the Craven incident, but not before establishing the doctrine that would guide human military policy for generations. "We are gardeners," he wrote in his final report, "tending the garden of peace with tools that could burn the universe. We choose growth over destruction, but let none mistake our choice for weakness." Maria Rodriguez continued to patrol the borders, her ship still disguised as a barely functional patrol vessel. She liked to think that somewhere out there, Vexler was telling other species about their encounter, about the humans who had every reason to destroy him, but chose instead to teach him a lesson about strength and mercy. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Humans were not the weak newcomers they appeared to be. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had looked into the abyss of their own destructive potential and chosen to be better. They were proof that true strength wasn't about the ability to destroy, but about the wisdom to know when not to. And so the message spread through the cosmos, whispered in 100 languages across 1,000 worlds. No one enters human space uninvited and returns alive to tell the tale. Not because the humans kill them, but because they show them something that changes them forever. They show them what it means to be truly powerful and choose peace anyway. The few who tested this warning discovered that the humans had not been bluffing. Their technology continued to advance at a frightening pace, always defensive in nature, but capable of offensive applications that defied comprehension. They became the galaxy's reluctant peacekeepers, not through conquest, but through the simple fact that no one dared to provoke them. Years turned to decades, and the story of the Craven fleet became legend. Some species claimed it was propaganda, that no one could be as powerful as the stories suggested. These skeptics were free to test the truth for themselves, though none who did ever return to report their findings. Human space remained inviolate, a testament to a simple truth that echoed through the cosmos. Respect is earned not through aggression, but through the strength to show mercy when holding all the cards. And in the vast darkness between the stars, that lesson continued to spread, one species at a time, ensuring that humanity's borders remained secure, not through fear alone, but through a complex mixture of respect, uncertainty, and the knowledge that the humans were always watching, always ready, and always willing to teach the same lesson to anyone who needed to learn it. The universe had discovered that humans were not just another species among many. They were the guardians at the gate, the ones who said, "This far and no further," and had the power to enforce it. And perhaps most remarkably of all, they did it, not with cruelty or tyranny, but with a firm hand extended in friendship to those who approached in peace, and an iron fist hidden in a velvet glove for those who did not. This was the legacy of the day the Craven crossed into human space without permission. Not a tale of destruction and conquest, but a story of wisdom and restraint. A reminder that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice not to. And in the endless expanse of space, that choice continued to echo, a warning and a promise combined. Enter human space in peace and find friends. Enter with hostile intent and discover why no one ever does it twice. Asterisk. How long until completion? Montgomery asked. 6 months, Adichie replied. The aliens gave us 1 year to stay in our system. We'll be ready before they expect us to even attempt leaving. Back on Earth, the rejected delegation was greeted, not with disappointment, but with purpose. The recording of the Assembly's mockery was played in secret sessions of world governments. Every insult, every dismissive laugh, every threat was analyzed and remembered. President Catherine Walsh addressed the secret assembly of Earth's United Nations. They see us as insects. Let them. While they laugh at our supposed weakness, we prepare. When we reveal ourselves, it won't be as supplicants begging for acceptance. It will be as equals who earned our place through innovation they never imagined possible. The elder races had made a crucial mistake, one that humanity had counted on. In their millions of years of existence, they had become stagnant, convinced that they had discovered all there was to discover, that their way was the only way. They had stopped questioning, stopped wondering, stopped looking for the impossible. Humanity, young and desperate and creative, had never stopped asking, what if? Asterisk the revelation of power 6 months after the humiliation at the Intergalactic Assembly. The elder races detected something troubling. Human vessels, previously confined to their solar system as ordered, were appearing at the edges of assembly. Space, not attacking, not exploring, just ... watching. Sovereign Zalf of the Crethany materialized his vast fleet around Earth without warning. 3,000 ships, each one capable of cracking a moon, formed a sphere around humanity's homeworld. His message was broadcast to every human on the planet. You were warned. You were shown mercy. You chose defiance. The Assembly offers you one final chance. Surrender your ships, submit to protective status, or face extinction. President Walsh stood in the United Nations chamber, now humanity's unified command center. Around her, leaders from every nation watched the alien fleet with expressions of calm determination. They had prepared for this moment. Sovereign Zalf, Walsh responded, her voice carried by quantum transmitters that shouldn't exist according to alien science. Humanity declines your offer. We choose a fourth option. The laughter from the Crethany fleet was electric, literally. Lightning arced between their ships in what passed for amusement among their kind. There is no fourth option. Primitive. Doctor. Montgomery, Walsh said to the woman standing beside her. It's time. From Europa, a signal went out. Not through normal space, not through hyperspace, not through any dimension the elder races monitored. It traveled through the null zone, the non-space that humanity had discovered and claimed as their own. Above Earth, reality began to crack dot it. Started as a line of absolute nothingness, a tear in space itself that hurt to perceive. The elder race's sensors screamed warnings in languages that had words for impossible things. But even they had no words for this. The crack widened, and through it came Phoenix Prime. The ship was 3 kilometers long, but its size was meaningless, because it didn't fully exist in any one dimension. Parts of it phased in and out of visibility, showing glimpses of architecture that followed no known geometric principles. Its hull was not metal or energy, but something that existed in the space between states of matter. Commander Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of humanity's impossible vessel. Around her, a crew of 500 operated systems that merged human intuition with quantum probability, creating a synthesis of technology and consciousness that the elder races had never imagined. Sovereign Zalf, Sarah broadcast. I believe. You know who I am. 6 months ago, you called us insects. You said we were children playing with toys. Would you like to play with us now? The Crethany fleet opened fire immediately. 3,000 ships unleashed weapons that could shatter planets, bend space, and unravel molecular bonds. The barrage should have vaporized anything it touched. Phoenix Prime didn't move. It didn't need to. The attacks simply stopped existing when they reached the ship. Not blocked, not absorbed, just erased from reality as if they had never been fired. Impossible. Zalf's voice crackled across all frequencies. No shield can. You're right, Sarah interrupted. No shield can do that. We're not using shields. We're using something you never thought to look for, because you stopped questioning the nature of reality millions of years ago. Phoenix Prime's response was swift and precise. Weapons that existed partially in the null zone fired at the Crethany fleet. The attacks didn't travel through space. They simply appeared at their targets, bypassing shields and armor by existing. In a state where such defenses were meaningless, 12 Crethany ships ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but unraveled at a fundamental level. Their matter scattered across dimensions where it could never reform. The elder race's response was immediate. All 7 species sent their fleets to Earth. The Vylorians brought ships of pure energy. The collective brought their billion drone swarms. The morphs brought vessels that could change their fundamental nature at will. The Zenthros brought living ships that could adapt to any threat. The architects brought constructs of impossible geometry. The Chronari brought ships that existed across multiple timelines simultaneously. Against any normal threat, this combined. Force could have sterilized a galaxy, but Phoenix Prime was not normal. As the elder fleets converged, more cracks appeared in space. From each one emerged another human vessel, each as impossible as the first. Humanity had not built one ship in the null zone. They had built 12. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment the old order died. The elder races, despite their millions of years of advancement, had no answer to humanity's null space technology. Their weapons, designed to work within the laws of physics they understood, were useless against ships that existed outside those laws. But humanity did not seek destruction. As the elder fleets found themselves helpless, Sarah Chun broadcast a message to the assembly. We could destroy you all. Your fleets, your worlds, your entire civilizations. We have that power now. But power without wisdom is what you accused us of. So let us show you wisdom. The human ships stopped firing. They hung in space, untouchable and invincible, but no longer attacking. We offer you what you denied us, Sarah continued. Partnership, not as servants, not as masters, but as equals. You have knowledge of millions of years. We have the innovation of youth. Apart, you are stagnant and we are inexperienced. Together, we can become something greater. Overlord Kyrix's energy form materialized before Phoenix Prime. For the first time in eons, his voice carried something other than arrogance. How? How did you achieve this? Dr. James Park, now Phoenix Prime Science Officer, answered. You spent so long mastering space that you never thought to ask what exists outside it. You became so powerful that you stopped looking for new ways to be powerful. You laughed at our weakness, never realizing that weakness forced us to find strength. In places you never thought to look. The assembly was silent for a long moment. Then the collective spoke. You could conquer us all. Why offer partnership? Elena Vasquez, now Earth Senior Ambassador, replied. Because conquest creates enemies. Partnership creates allies. We learned this through our own wars, our own mistakes. We offer you the wisdom, bought with our blood, just as we hope to learn from your experience. Gamorph's representative shifted into a form that, for the first time, resembled something almost human. You would share this null space technology? In time, President Walsh said from Earth, as trust is built, as partnership is proven, we will not make the mistake you did of believing we have all the answers. And we hope you will not make that mistake again either. It took 3 days of negotiation, but in the end, the Intergalactic Assembly voted unanimously to accept Earth not just as a member, but as a senior partner in a new galactic order. The elder races, humbled but not humiliated, began to work with humanity to understand the null zone and what other possibilities they had overlooked in their ancient arrogance. A year later, Commander Sarah Chun stood in the same amphitheater where humanity had been mocked. Now, human and alien scientists worked side by side, sharing knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Overlord Kyrix approached her. His energy form flickering in what she had learned was amusement. You knew we would reject. You counted on it. Sarah smiled. We needed time to finish Phoenix Prime. But more than that, we needed you to underestimate us. If you had taken us seriously from the beginning, you might have detected our work in the null zone. You manipulated us. We showed you what you expected to see. Primitive humans with primitive technology. It never occurred to you that we might be hiding something because, in your experience, no young race could hide anything from you. The Vilorian's form pulsed with colors that indicated respect. We spent millions of years believing we were the pinnacle of evolution. You showed us we had become fossils, preserved in our own arrogance. And we showed you that fossils can learn. To evolve again, Sarah replied. That's what partnership means. We all have something to teach and something to learn. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's weakness. They had dismissed them as insects, as children, as primitive fools who didn't know their place. But in the end, it was humanity's supposed weakness that had been their greatest strength. It had driven them to find power in places no one else had thought to look, to innovate in ways no one else had imagined necessary. The hidden ship that rose from beyond space had not just revealed humanity's power. It had revealed a fundamental truth, that no matter how advanced a civilization becomes, the moment it stops questioning, stops growing, stops looking for the impossible, it begins to die. Humanity had reminded the galaxy how to live.